before we get started, let's check out the links in my description. We all want nice things. We want the car, we want a house, we want a high limit credit card. But if you don't have at least a 680 credit score, you're not even in the game. So click this link here to know where you stand and get your free credit scores from all three bureaus. That will be Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. And also get your reports. If you would like to be free and become financially independent through entrepreneurship, click this link here to be free. If you'd like to get cash back, which is a discount during shopping, please click this link here to see my favorite cashback sites. And if you enjoy the music you hear in the background, please click the link here and subscribe to It's Oasis. Hello everyone, welcome back to Community Wealth. Today we're going to discuss something that led to where we're at with the PPP and the EIDL and things like that. We're going to get into it, and you know what this is about. This is about the rampant fraud. Again, the fraud is not as big as it may seem, but it's big enough to where it put a hole, or I should say it made a shortage of where a lot of people could not be funded. Now, there were instances where, you know, things are going on behind the scenes where people couldn't get funded, but the fraud, we're talking almost probably about $500 million. That's quite a bit of money that could have went into the smaller loans. Let's just say the $20,000, the $15,000, the $10,000 loans, $5,000 loans. You get both draws, that's $10,000. $500 million. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of loans. $5, $10, $15, and $20,000. That's a lot of loans that could be funded with $500 million. So let's go ahead and get into this article that I came across. And some of you probably seen this article, but I just came across and I read a little bit of it. I didn't go deep into it because I want to be as surprised as you are. I may not read the whole thing because it looked kind of lengthy, but I'm gonna, summarize it or try to go over as much as I can. So let's get right into it. Here's the article right here. Again, I'm not sure if you guys saw this or not, but I'm gonna get into it. It says Congress opens investigation into Blue Vine and Cabbage after reports of PPP fraud. Now, I know Blue Vine and Cabbage, they were big last year. I knew a couple of people who was using Cabbage and a few people that were using Blue Vine. Of course, I couldn't do anything because I had a negative net. So I didn't get into they opened it up to gross. But I saw a few Blue Vine and Cabbage. Those were the two big ones last year. And they're what's called Fintech companies. And Fintech companies are basically alternatives to banks. And most people know the most famous Fintech company, which is PayPal. So PayPal will be a Fintech company. Chime will be a Fintech company. Things like that. Those are Fintechs. I also believe, I would say that Cash App is a Fintech. But anyway, so we're going to go into this and we're going to read this article. It says Congress has opened a formal investigation into potentially fraudulent Paycheck Protection Program loans facilitated by online lenders like Blue Vine and Cabbage. The investigation follows reports from Bloomberg and ProPublica that looked into reports of allegedly fraudulent loans approved by lenders like Cabbage. The House of Representatives Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Crisis announced the probe on Friday, sending letters to Blue Vine and Cabbage. 75% of PPP loans connected to fraud through a Department of Justice investigation were facilitated by fintech lenders, the committee says in the letter, citing a Bloomberg report. Those fintech lenders processed just 15% of total PPP volumes, it said. So out of 15%, 75% of the fraud was linked to the 15%. And you would think that's a big number, but again, it was only $500 million. And you saw that it was almost $1 trillion in loans put out. So if only $500 million was fraudulent, that's really not a lot. But at the same time, like I said earlier, that $500 million could have funded a lot of $5,000 and $20,000 loans. $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, and $20,000 loans. That's $500 million that could have funded a lot of loans. All right. So let's keep going. I am deeply troubled by recent reports alleging that financial technology lenders and their bank partners failed to adequately screen PPP loan applications for fraud, Representative James E. Clyburn, chairman of the Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus, said in a statement. So that's what Fintech stands for, financial technology. This failure may have led to millions of dollars Fintech facilitated PPP loans being made to fraudulent, non-existent, or otherwise ineligible businesses. An investigation by ProPublica found that Cabbage facilitated 378 loans totaling $7 million to businesses that likely don't exist. Many of these fraudulent applications were tied to farms registered to residential addresses in areas like southern New Jersey and Palm Beach, Florida. While it was Blue Vine and Cabbage's tech that processed the loan applications, the fintechs themselves are not banks and therefore have partner banking relationships that support their lending businesses. Blue Vine's partner bank, Celtic Bank, and Cabbage's partner, Cross River Bank, are both part of the subcommittee's probe. The probe seeks to determine whether Blue Vine, Cabbage, and their partner banks had adequate controls in place to prevent PPP funds from ending up in the wrong hands. American Express acquired Cabbage in October 2020, though the deal did not include Cabbage's existing credit portfolio, which included PPP loans. Cabbage's outstanding loans were transferred to a new entity called K Servicing. So that's just K Servicing, that's just an affiliate of their own name. It was Cabbage, so they just did something called K Services. That's all. Kind of like a trademark or something like that. Now, for those that know about trademarks and things like that, if I'm wrong about the trademark, then let me know. But I believe that would be a trademark name or affiliate that they come up with, So, a Cabbage spokesperson to Bloomberg, it conducts rigorous verification checks that go well beyond the minimum requirements issued by the SBA. For its part, Blue Vine told Bloomberg it conducted advanced fraud prevention techniques and tried to safely support business owners. Fintech lenders boasted that automation helped underserved small businesses. The rollout of the PPP and effort to buoy small businesses amid coronavirus pandemic-driven closures was less than smooth. As businesses rushed to fill out applications for the forgivable loans, the nation's largest banks like JP Morgan Chase and Wells Fargo prioritized existing customers that had already gone through compliance processes. That left many small businesses unable to access PPP loans. Ultimately, many turned to fintechs, including Blue Vine, Cabbage, PayPal, and Square. These digital-only lenders boasted automated application processes with very little human intervention required, which meant they were able to get businesses approved quickly. But the majority of their PPP applicants were new customers, meaning they hadn't already gone through the necessary compliance steps like Know Your Client. 98% of Cabbage's PPP borrowers were new clients. And Cabbage says that due to its commitment to data and technology to drive automation, more than 75% of its approved loans were processed without human intervention. Now, Congress wants to know whether these fully automated processes made fintechs the lenders of choice for fraud rings. I would think so. But with me going through things with Womply, they caught a lot of stuff. I went through smoothly, but that's because when they do cross references and cross checks with SBA and the IRS, they see that the information is there. So then they also send it to SBA as far as I'm concerned from what I saw. Now, I don't know what they did last year. I can't go by what they did last year because I was hearing people was getting approved in 2 days, sometimes the same day. So you put in an application at 6 o'clock. By 9 o'clock, your application was approved, and by the next morning, you got funds in your account. That's pretty fast. So I guess a lot of this stuff was going on last year. That's what I was hearing. I don't know anything about it. I didn't get approved last year. I'm just hearing about it. You know, people saying, hey, I got approved, you know, in 24 hours. So, I mean, that's fast. When it took me a month to get both, actually about 45 days to get both draws. So for me to get both draws in about 45 days, and back then people were getting $20,000 plus in 24 hours. That is kind of fast. You know, that's pretty quick. So let's say a Bloomberg report points to multiple instances of fraud that could have been prevented had Fintech simply conducted web searches for the company name of inactive, non-existent, or otherwise clearly ineligible applicants, the House Subcommittee said in its letter to Bluevine. Okay, so I guess I did read the whole thing. It was a lot shorter than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be longer than that. But I do agree that the automation probably aided in a whole lot of stuff that went on. I mean, just by reading some of the comments below, some of the questions some people have, I can kind of tell that you probably didn't do what you're supposed to be doing. Just being honest. I can kind of tell who may have done it and they weren't supposed to be getting a loan. Now, I'm not 100%, so don't say, yeah, you know. I don't really know. I just have a feeling, and I could be wrong. It could just be that you're worried or you're concerned. Some people are just concerned, and so they ask certain type of questions. Not saying that they did anything wrong, but just ask certain type of questions. Even with taxes, sometimes, you know, people feel like, hey, I did my taxes. Did I do it right? Did I do anything wrong? You know, even though you're doing everything correct, you know, you're dotting every I, crossing every T. But you just feel a little concerned because you're worried, especially with something like this going on when, I mean, the slightest thing would be considered fraud, you know, and so I guess you can be concerned. And so I get it. But again, maybe last year it was like the wild, wild west of PPP and EIDL. Everything just went, everything just goes, and they'll figure it out later. There were really no regulations and rules in place. So I can see how that could happen. Because now they were a lot more stricter. Remember, there's still people who haven't been funded who applied in March. There's still people who are just in borrow funded mode and haven't even gotten money yet. And they're supposed to be 20 days. It's almost a month or so. So I guess a lot of things have changed. But there was still a lot of fraud going on. I mean, people getting $20,000 twice, you know, and they don't even have a business. So it still happens, you know. So now I'm not saying that I know for sure anybody, but like I said, I could kind of get a feeling. And if I'm wrong, I apologize. But at the same time, it is happening, and it's happening a lot. So that's the article I came across, and it's some information I want to put out there because I thought that was interesting about Bluevine and Cabbage, because I know people were complaining about Womply, and I hope you didn't get one of those loans from Bluevine and Cabbage because your stuff is about to get totally overly scrutinized. Also, I do know that a lot of these fintech companies like Womply, and I'm assuming Bluevine and Cabbage, are actually working with authorities to try to, you know, point out the fraudsters and get them prosecuted. So if you're doing it, if you've done it, I can't say if you're doing it because it's pretty much over right now. Now I'll make another video with update on information about that. But if you're if you've done the fraud and you got the funds, I mean, either give it back or do what you can to try to get it repaid ASAP, because you're not getting through with forgiveness. And if you do get through with forgiveness, remember, there are going to be some checks and balances later on, so you're going to have to, atone for what you did eventually. So try to make it right now, get it over with, slap on the wrist, hopefully, boom, it's over, you're done. You just had to pay some penalties and some interest or whatever. But again, that's the article. We have Blue Vine Cabinet. Pretty sure it's a lot more. PayPal, they sucked. So if anybody did fraud through PayPal, I mean, you were really good, because PayPal, they sucked. They were horrible. It was just terrible. So again, thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel, like and share the video. Subscribe to It's a Wasty. Check out the links in the description. We got the credit monitoring down there. You want to repair your credit, you want to know where you're staying, want to know what your scores are, click the link for credit monitoring. We have information about entrepreneurship down there. I always talk about how I got 5 properties for $5,500. That's with Be Free. Check out the Be Free link down there if you want to get into entrepreneurship. Also going to have a link down there about DoorDash. Want to get into dashing, so go down there and sign up to be a dasher, make about $1,000 a week door dashing. And I got $1,000 in cash back, over $1,000. I just got some more cash back yesterday. So my favorite cash back sites, click the cash back link. And if you like the music, again, subscribe to It's a Wasty. And as always, until the next video, everybody, let's get this money.